Peace and love. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned into the Lead with Logic podcast. You know the vibe. Peace, 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 peace. Whoever that is, peace, peace. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Peace, peace. Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. Whoever that is, wherever you are, I appreciate you being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with Brother Faheem, so that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Yeah, give me a second. I'm just trying to get everybody into the room. What do you say? Party people in the place to be. Yeah, peace, peace, peace. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Do me a favor, whoever it is out there, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, wherever you're watching this from, comment in the, put something in the comments, put something in the comments, put something in the comments. Yeah, put something in the comments. And we're going to get right into this. Few more minutes. Hopefully everybody's day was positively productive and peaceful and all those other good things. Man, that make life so grand. Yeah, like I said, put your name, put it in the comments. Worm, peace, God. I gotta get with you, bro. Long time no hear from, brother. I miss you. Peace, 7. That's the original black man. Fly girl Kyle, what's going on? I see you, Ladybug. Brother, yeah, my Keith. Okay. That's what's up. Okay. I'm just bringing some people in, man. That's about it. That's about all. Remember, man, any comments that y'all might have, any questions, anything. Yeah, man, I do. I do miss you, big bro. I gotta call you. But man, anything y'all want to say, any questions y'all have, you know what I mean? Voice your excitement. Just put it in the I'm gonna be talking and I'm gonna be taking comments and I'm gonna be answering questions. So man, I definitely appreciate it, man. Like I say, just give me 1 second. Give me a quick second. And we can get started. You know, Murphy's Law dictates that anything that can go wrong, it will go wrong. So, but you know, we press and go forward. And I'm glad. Just give me a couple more seconds, get a couple more people in here. And then we're gonna start this build. We're gonna start the build. My people, my people. One more. One more. All right. think that's cool. I think that should do it. I think that should do it. Well, peace, peace, y'all. This is Brother Faheem, the maker, the owner, and the sole controller of the Lead with Logic podcast. And man, what I do here is I take the mundane, the controversial, the sensational, and through peer-reviewed articles, journals, books, websites, documentaries, documentary clips from online. Walaikum salam, brother. Big brother Ghazi in the building. Yeah, man. What I do is I take all this and man extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And uh so that life can be enhanced and also so we can experience life in 3D. And nothing can do that for you except having that understanding. So that's what I do here. Monday nights at 8, y'all. You know it's great. Listen, I always say life moves at such an ultramagnetic pace that I try to keep my boots laced so that I can always win the race. That's what I always say. Man, a lot going on, man. A lot going on. A lot going on. And it seems to be the big thing in the news is our brother, Sean Puffy Combs, right? Sean Puffy Combs. Before I go forward, let me say this. Wherever you are, stop what you're doing, right? Wherever you are, please copy this link and share it out. Share it out to 5 people if you can. Share out to 5 people if you're in a position. 5 people, right? Share out the link so we can get some more people in here so they can enjoy this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube. If you on your phone, if you're on your laptop, take the link, spread it out. I'm sure some people will enjoy this because I know I'm in here with intelligent people. So we just want to get a few more in. Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, Brother Love, Puffy, right? What has been going on with our brother? It's been a lot. It's been quite a bit. And recently, most recently, well, a few months ago, what happened? He got served with that lawsuit when the New York Adult Survivors Act, that act that they passed to allow victims to now uh, be released or be get relief from having a statute of limitation. We saw those charges. We saw Mr. Combs in that awful and that despicable video of him beating Cassie. I think her name is Cassie. I don't know what her last name is. I'm saying Cassie Ventura, but I think it was something else. But nonetheless, that was months ago. And I remember thinking to myself when that happened, because when you watched it, if you listen, they talked about how, that was 8 years ago. That was 2016. So why are they showing it now? Right? Why is this coming to the light now? What's going on that we need to see this now? Right? And I couldn't think of anything. I said, wow, I could understand if this was new. I could understand if this was fresh and he was currently going through this. I get it. But when they broke that it happened, I was like, that's interesting. And then what made it even more when I began to now understand was when they said she had been compensated, right? And that they think he's done other things. And I said, oh, now it's starting to make sense. Of course, they raided his house. They raided his house in Miami and Los Angeles. I want to say that it was. And, they found allegedly the tapes. They found a lot of baby oil, uh, things of that nature, right? And since then, it's been a shit storm. It's been a shit storm. It's been all over the news. I'm used to Puffy, you know, dancing and doing that silly shit on camera. Excuse my language. I'm used to him, being kind of corny, but nonetheless getting to the bag. He's serious about the bag, regardless of the means, right? But we've seen a different side, and more so than what we've seen of Puffy's behavior. It's more about what we've seen of the public. How has the public really responded to this? Do you know what you're watching? Are you sure are you understanding? Are you clear on what is going on in here? Right? Do you really understand what you're watching? Because I do. Why do I? Because I've seen it before. I saw R. Kelly, Mr. Robert Kelly, right? I saw with Mr. Bill Cosby, who spent 36 months in jail unjustly. I saw with one of my favorite, probably my favorite artist of all times. We all like to say we don't have a favorite. I do, if I'm being honest. My favorite artist of all times would have to be Michael Jackson. Uh, and so I saw it with Mike too, right? We saw how they drug Mike through the mud, and it wasn't pretty. And it was only after he died we found out how unjust it was. We found out just the amount of injustice that Michael Jackson had to endure. And what was scary to me, or what was interesting to me about Mike was not the most masculine, threatening black man, right? Mike was soft spoken. Mike was laid back. Mike wasn't physically threatening. He didn't tower over you. I think they said Mike was 5'8", 5'9". You know, he wasn't like my one of my other heroes, Jim Brown. Jim Brown was a cat who was 6'2". He was muscular, and he didn't smile a lot, right? He didn't smile when nothing was funny. And he spoke up when he needed to speak up. Otherwise, he was pretty chill, but you knew not to tangle with him. Mike wasn't like that though, was he? Mike was pretty pure. I mentioned all those brothers because it did not matter how pure they were. It didn't matter what their demeanor was. They were all taken down, and the media used the same the media used the same tactics. Watch the paper. The That's a great, God knows I'm trying. I see you, Askia. I'm waiting on that merch, bro. I'm waiting on that merch so I can get it out and make some content. You see, I'm waiting on the merch. But yeah, you know, we saw where it did not matter, and it didn't matter their demeanor, it didn't matter their public perception. These brothers were drugged through the mud in in many instances in the same way with the same play, right? And so I thought that I heard somebody say early this morning, follow the money, not the headlines. And I said, a light bulb went off. Ding. Damn, if that is not profound, because we absolutely follow the headlines. We chase the ambulance, y'all, and never wonder about who's inside of the ambulance and how'd they get there, who put them there. We just going wherever the ambulance go, wherever the big siren, wherever the lights are, like sheeple, right? But so today, what I want to do is I wanted to just familiarize us, go over a few things that we might not be, well, at least that I haven't seen are being considered or talked about uh, when we deal with Puffy. And it's important because when you look at these cases, there's always an economic factor. There's always some money that's involved that they're not going to show you that on CNN. They're not going to talk about that on MSNBC, right? They're not going to talk about these things. They're going to talk about the slander. They're going to talk about the allegations and the accusations and the charges, right? But it's up to us, lovers of freedom, justice, and equality, right? Emotionally intelligent people, right? To go and do our due diligence, do our own research, so that we won't be taken in by the bluff and made the fool of, right? I tell my children to do that with everything, with people, with groups. Always say less than what you see and do your due diligence, because then you'll find out who people are and uh what you're trying to be fooled by. And the masses, they're not doing that. 85s, they're not doing that. But listen, I want to start this off with something real fast that I thought was interesting. We're talking about following the money, right? Following the money. I don't know how you guys feel about Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. I love him. I love 50. He's one of my favorite people. Wow, he's one of my favorite people. He's smart. He's authored a few books. And he's one of the few that has code switched in the streets and in the boardroom successfully, right? He's an astute businessman and an astute street savvy hustler. And so typically when he's speaking, I'm listening. But listen to what he said. This is the Invest Fest. For those of y'all who don't know, Invest Fest is a festival that happens every year in Atlanta, Georgia. And different vendors, different entrepreneurs, black people come down. It's like the mecca of investments, y'all. I Me and my dude Skia that's in there, God knows, we're gonna hit it up. But I would highly recommend that you guys uh, look up some information on InvestFest if you have a product or a business, especially. But even if you don't, to go and be inspired and get motivated. They have different keynote speakers. This year it was 50. Years past, it's been Steve Harvey, it's been Tyler Perry. I'm surprised Oprah hadn't come through, right? But they have different speakers to come through. But I want to they're discussing black business and what happens within black business. And listen to what 50 says. I think it's interesting and it's relevant to the point.
It was great in the beginning. It's great for us to work for them. It is not so cool when you start to own things. You see what I'm saying? So I made a lot of money with them too.
I'm sorry about that. Here we go.
That's completely black owned.
Well, I want to talk about that, right? Science Spirits.
Yeah.
So, all right, Science Spirits, completely black owned, like you said, liquor company. Talk about that, because I know you had challenges before that, right? So, talk about that whole situation.
Yeah, you have the experience with major corporations like me. My particular experience with Beam Centauri, it was great in the beginning. It's great for us to work for them. It is not so cool when you start to own things. You see what I'm saying? So I made a lot of money with them too. Like, there's a point they did a deal that mirrored what Puffy's deal with Diageo was for Ciroc. So he didn't have ownership of that at any point, but he was getting a lot of money, like almost like $60 million a year at one point. So when you see him go to De Leon is when you see him have some issues. And it gets bad. And these people have really strong relationships. Don't think that the civil case doesn't turn into a criminal case faster because he's making them uncomfortable. That's a big part of it.
Don't think that the civil case isn't turning into a criminal case because he's making them uncomfortable. That's a big part of it. What 50 is saying, right? What he's telling us is big business plays into everything. It spills over into everything. And part of these legal troubles, you just heard it from a man who does big business. If you watch that whole speech, that's online. 50 exposes his TV empire blueprint, Diddy's fall, $100 million deal, and spirits and industry battle. 50 has been very transparent about his legal woes and his relationship or lack thereof with these big corporations. For those of you all who are power fans, such as myself, OG power fans, right? I'm Team Ghost all day. Uh, you remember he went back and forth with the Stars Network, right? He started speaking against them, right? He started saying things about them, right? And people were like, damn, why is he doing that? That's unwise. Why would 50 do something like that? Well, it's in part to those relationships, right? And how they can become very, very tainted and jaded. But I wanted to start there though, because that gives us a good catalyst, right? That gives us a good catalyst to go where I'm trying to go with this. Um, Diddy is having these problems, and a lot of people. I want to start there because a lot of people, when I hear things, I'm in different rooms, right? I'm on for those of you guys. I'm on. I was on X. X. They tripping again. Business. X. Fan base is a great app for you guys. For you all who don't know, fan base is an app created by the Isaac Hayes. I think I want to say the third. Um, Man, it is a wonderful app. He gives people the opportunity to have discussions, right? content creators to reach a vast audience, a vast market, to build a following. And the best thing about it is, number one, you can invest in it. Number two, you can gain revenue from your ideas, right? Your intellectual property, and your interactions, right? So I'm on there quite a bit. If I'm not on there in a room, if I'm not on there listening to the people's voice, if I'm not on there just laughing, or gaining and soaking up some knowledge, uh, I'm on there, holding the room and discussing. And one of the things that I never hear when people discuss Diddy is the financial aspect, or how big business has affected the life of Mr. Combs. And to do that is to reflect what happens to all affluent people like that. And I'm pulling up something for you all, right? I want you guys to see something. I want you to get a couple different voices other than Brother Faheem's, so that you can understand exactly where I'm coming from. Uh, another one of my another one of the guys that's super smart. I don't want the feminazis to kill me behind this. uh Pimpin' Ken Ivy. Uh Pimpin' Ken Ivy. If y'all don't know now, you know. You will know. Pimpin' Ken Ivy was an actual pimp, but he was famous for Pimps Up Hoes Down, a film in the 90s about pimps, players, and Max. And he transitioned like a many people, right? Like the Kennedys started out in crime and then went over into the legit. He started out in crime and then he's coming over to the legit. And he's had much success. He went to tour. He toured with 50, right? He was in PIMP. He said, "Well, Pimpin' Ken say don't doubt him, crown him." That's Pimpin' Ken. Uh, but he has done a lot of things. He has some charity work that he's doing, but he also written a few books, right? The Art of Human Chess, that's my favorite one. Uh, and he has another one. I think the 48 Laws of Game. I want to say y'all should check, for all my readers out there, my nerds like I am. I'm a chic and cool nerd though. You dig what I'm saying? So, um, for all my nerds out there that like to read and lead, check Pimpin' Ken out. But listen, I want y'all to hear what Pimpin' Ken has to say about this before we get into uh, the actual evidence and what the meat and potatoes. Y'all listen to Mr. Ivy.
It's bigger than Diddy. If Diddy can get the key to the city, take it back, then George Washington and Jackson should be taken off of the $20 bill and the $5 bill, and the $20 bill and the $1 bill. Also, Dr. Umar Johnson talked about sex trafficking. He said this is a sex trafficking case. This ain't got nothing to do with no other charges. He said it's sex trafficking, so therefore, we need to be talking about sex trafficking. And they say sex trafficking and human trafficking got something to do with pimping.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon.
I gotta update my subscription.
P. Diddy was not pimping. They said he was spending loads of cash. That means he was tricking.
Right.
They should come up with a charge called trick trafficking, because it ain't sex trafficking, it ain't human trafficking, and pimping ain't human trafficking. These are made up laws that they make in order to bring down political prisoners. Any black man doing well in America is a political prisoner. And y'all say, well, that's kind of racist. No, that's not racist. It's systemic racism and white supremacy. You can see white supremacy written all over the laws. If it wasn't white supremacy and white folks didn't have privileges, why would Donald Trump, who didn't offer any money, be out on bail, and Puffy offered $50 million? This is bigger than Diddy. We got to understand that it's bigger than Diddy. Joe Brown said that he read the transcripts and the indictment thoroughly. He said in that indictment, they don't say co-conspirators, they don't say victims, they say witnesses. Witnesses to what? Dr. Joe Brown said that they sent witnesses to protect people. There's more to it than Diddy. This is bigger than Diddy. They got videos. Videos of who? Videos of what? Judge Joe Brown talk about incommunicado. Incommunicado when they put you in a cell. They put you on the suicide watch. We know what happened to Epstein when they put him on the suicide watch. We know how that go. He ultimately commits suicide or ultimately was murdered. You know, is they trying to get rid of Diddy? They trying to kill Diddy. You know, because Diddy know too much. You know, I want to be the devil advocate. I want to get the other side of the game because, you know, I did something about 6 or 7 months ago. I talked about Bill Cosby. I talked about Mike Tyson. I talked about R. Kelly. And I said that it is a attack on Black leadership and Black enterprises. You know, even
An attack on Black leadership and Black enterprises. Yeah.
though these guys may or may not been complicit, they may have committed a crime, they may have not committed a crime. The way the law is going about persecuting them, adding these pimp charges and these RICO charges was originally were made for organized crime. We know that ain't nothing organized about R. Kelly. Ain't nothing organized about P. Diddy. Because if he was organized, he wouldn't have moved the way he moved. Real gangsters move in silence. Everybody knew about the Diddy parties. Everybody knew what Diddy was doing. This is bigger than Diddy. This is an attack on Black empowerment. It's to emasculate the Black man. It's to take the Black man, you know, down. You got to remember, when they take Kanye and Diddy and all these brothers off the map as being billionaires, that's less imagery that we have for our children. Our children need to see this. They need to see African Americans doing well. And I know a lot of y'all get great vengeance and y'all feel it's a form of retribution to see somebody do bad that's been doing well so long. Because you say, by the time he or she feel what I feel, that by the time they know what it's like to eat mayonnaise sandwiches, sandwich with ketchup on it, they know what it's like to be a rats and roaches and to live in the projects and be in the hood. And now he got to feel what everybody else feel. He got to feel the suffering. That's cool. You can feel less. You're entitled to your opinion, but you got to remember, your son could be the next person that blow in the hood, and he's going to get the same attack. Like I said, man, why are we putting all these crazy charges on people who we know that's doing the same thing that people have been doing for years? The reason why is because they want Diddy's money. They mad because Diddy decided to sue Ciroc. It's bigger than Diddy. If you go against the powers that be, they will punish you.
The pimp. Mr. Ivy. I know some of y'all thinking like he like pimps. Listen, let me say this clearly for the people in the back. I have nor have I ever advocated for or condoned any occupation that would uh, facilitate the use or the exploitation of any human being. However, but comma, just like we learn in our history books about all those criminals that we advocate and celebrate, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, all of these people whom we learn about and they tell us are good, we can learn something from them. Pimps, Pimp and Ken Ivy, Bishop Magic Don Juan, they have a way with human beings. They have a psychology, especially with women. Especially with women. My uncle was a pimp and like an actual pimp. And man, he didn't advocate that I went into that. But he did say there are some things you can learn some things as a square man that you can use with them women that you're dealing with. Because the concept and the thought process is the same, young blood. But you got to learn how to deal with it. You got to learn how to deal with people, right? And so I just wanted y'all to hear Pimp and Ken because, again, Pimp and Ken is doing a whole bunch of things. He's doing a whole lot in the community. And he brings a great message. He brings a great point. He brings a great point that this is about the knock of Black enterprise. That's what this is about. Black enterprise. And when you go against the system, they will punish you. They will punish you. Now we've seen it before, right? I'm gonna give y'all a story while I pull up this video. In 2016, I remember I had just taken my son, my 11-year-old, to daycare, and I got back, and I remember my mother was watching something, and the headline was Bill Cosby to be tried for sex crimes. And I said, nah, nah, not America's dad. Nope, nope. And so when I sat down and listened to all the evidence that they had or the lack thereof, I was upset. But again, I came to a realization it was good, right? Look, listen, and observe, right? And it came to me. It hit me like a load of bricks. I said, and I told my mom, I said, well, I'll be damned. They don't want Bill Cosby. They want men. They're coming after masculinity. And guess what group's masculinity is up first? The low-hanging fruit. That's gonna be black men. It's gonna be a many black men they're gonna come after. Because the laws, they're using these laws, these bullshit laws, to now retrograde charges that can't even be proven. And they're using different types of laws, right? RICO, racketeering. They're using these laws to twist up to get the people, to get the figures. They're going after them hard. I said, yeah, Mom, we gonna see more people. If my mother was down here, she'd tell you. He said that. We gonna see more people get charges. Yeah, this ain't over. They coming after a lot of people's asses. And as long as them laws is weak the way they are, some people gonna fall. I just never I never expected black people to respond in the way that we're responding. But nevertheless, let's keep going with this. So Michael Jackson, I just wanted to show you guys. Like I said, follow the money and not the headlines, right? And I'll say this again, y'all. If you're here on the sound of my voice, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, your phone, your laptop, your car radio, watching on your, in your Cadillac or your Suburban, whatever, please, please, please share this out. Share this out with the people. Share this out with some people. Share it out with somebody you love. Share it out with somebody you hate. Share it out with somebody you would like to see or would love to see come in and get this knowledge, right? So, I'm going to move right along. Michael Jackson, right? We saw a lot with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson went through quite a bit. We saw the allegations. We saw him being dragged down. We saw how it was grueling. I remember that. It was grueling. It was grueling to watch. It was grueling to experience. And now today, even today, this is what's sickening. When they mention Michael Jackson, right? They always put that asterisk, that stain on his record. Well, he was a child. He was a molester. He was a pedophile, right? And I thought to myself, and I think to myself, wow, people are crazy. These people are ridiculous. People are really crazy. Why are they crazy? Because the man was found to be innocent. They went through pages and pages of FBI files and documented, and they found nothing. People testified that he did not touch them, right? So what was really happening? What was really going on? I just want to this is Janet Jackson, right? Janet and Latoya. I want y'all to hear something, and we'll hear from the legend himself, right? But I just want y'all to pay attention to this. This is all relative to what we're seeing with Puffy.
Do you blame Dr. Murray for your brother's death?
Yes, I do. He is the one that was administering the drug, as from what I do know. So I do.
So, Michael Jackson's death at his Los Angeles mansion was attributed to an OD of propofol, a surgical anesthetic used in operating rooms. And yes, Michael Jackson's personal doctor, Conrad Murray, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for his part in MJ's death, and he even served 2 years in prison. But trust me, it's not as simple as that.
Your Honor, I am an innocent man. I therefore plead not guilty.
Okay, Murray, if you say that you are innocent, were you the fall guy? Because from where everyone is standing, things are still not adding up. Who really is responsible for MJ's death? And why was he being set up to die literally for years? Well, his family members are still seeking answers and a proper explanation for what really happened to MJ.
I'm sorry, Robin. I know, because I keep saying the same thing. I couldn't believe, it's still to this day, it's still so difficult for me to believe.
Janet Jackson definitely feels like MJ's death may have been a setup, but she's not the only family member who believes that. MJ's sister LaToya did also spill that there was definitely something fishy about her brother's death.
I truly feel that Conrad Murray is simply the fall guy. This was definitely something that was premeditated, that they had planned to do, and they planned to take my brother out, and my brother knew it. And that's why he told me repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly that this was going to happen to him.
According to LaToya, the explanation Michael gave her for thinking someone was after him was that they were after his catalogs.
He explained it to me. He explained it's because of my catalog, which is my publishing, and they're after it, and they want it, and they want their hands on it, and they want to take it away from me. So Michael developed this love-hate relationship with his catalog.
Not the first time LaToya said that, by the way. In an interview with CNN, she also made it very clear that she knew the death was planned.
Because first of all, Michael told me that they were going to murder him. He was afraid. He was afraid for his life.
According to LaToya, when Michael walked in the house that fateful night, whoever...
I'm going to go forward. I just wanted you guys to see what LaToya had to say about her brother and why he was killed. I couldn't find the clip, but I remember the Jacksons. And again, my favorite Jackson of all is Joe Jackson. I love Joe Jackson. Why? Because he was a man's man, number one. I said this in my last build about Tito, so I won't get too deep. But if you know anything about old Gary, Indiana, it was industrial. It was a steel town. Black men were working in the steel mills, right? With 1,000 plus degree. He did that. He worked 2 jobs for 10 years to bring his family out of poverty and squalor, right? And I loved his demeanor. He was laid back. He was no nonsense, but he got it done. He really helped his family out. So, but they asked Joe, right? I saw it on an interview, and he said, Michael, this was all a plan. They all conspired to kill my son because they wanted to get a hold of his assets. What they often don't talk about, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, when they speak about Michael Jackson, was how shrewd of a businessman he was. He was very shrewd. They'll always push that shrewdness toward his family to make it a family affair, to make it seem like, hey, see, they do have problems and they don't get along. And he was standoffish. No, he loved his family. He had a shrewd business mentality, right? He was not to be toyed with. And a lot of people were upset about just how shrewd he was. One was Paul McCartney. When he bought the Beatles catalog from up under him, he didn't only buy that. By buying the Sony catalog, he got a dividend from all country music sales. It included the Beatles. It included Elvis. It was Little Richard. He gave Little Richard back his masters. He gave him his masters back. I forget who it was. Somebody said he was so Little Richard was so happy he's dancing around. But Mike understood wealth and assets and legacy, and they wanted that. They wanted Michael to. That was a part of what happened with these trials. They had been trying to buy back that catalog from Michael. He bought this catalog in the 80s. So when they tried to buy it back and he refused, then you see a lot of these charges begin to appear, right? Which drains him. That stuff costs money. These charges, these court dates, these trials, that's not anything that's inexpensive. That shit is hella expensive. And if you don't have Michael Jackson, P. Diddy, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby money, you're gonna get swallowed up. We're not in the 1%. So we can't afford. Our arms are too short to box with the government like that. We can't do it. But Mike could. And so what do they need to do? They need to neutralize and weaken you. And by you shelling out, dishing out all of this money, this drains you, right? This quote unquote dehydrates your well of resources. And that's what was going on with Michael. But let's let Mike talk to us about what was going on.
Himself even called him out.
The record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
MJ also said in 2002 when he was in London,
I own half of Sony's publishing and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. But so the way they get revenge. And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
You know, I personally wouldn't be.
He said, I just did good business. I'm leaving them and they're upset. I just did good business. People don't talk about that. That doesn't get brought up in the news. When Mike was going through all that slander and all that crazy stuff, no one talked about that catalog that he owned. No one talked about how much it was worth, right? Nobody. But it was absolutely a factor in what we saw him go through, be put through, right? And so there again. But another thing I wanted to mention, right? I talked about being in conversations and people justifying and explaining their perspectives on Diddy, right? And I've heard a lot, right? I've heard it can be religious, right? I've heard he's gotten too big for his britches. I've heard some of the victims were black. And I respect all of those perspectives. People have their points. I like to lead with logic. And when I want to know about something legal, or before I make a deduction or a statement about it, just so that I'm in alignment with it, I always like to listen to lawyers. I like to listen to people who practice law and engage law, because they could better, not only can they tell me what was said, they can now interpret so that I now get the right understanding of it. That's vital. So what am I saying? Good people. You don't hire a lawyer for nothing. You don't listen to a lawyer for nothing, right? Get you a lawyer or find someone in the legal department when you want to know about a case and have them interpret it for you. That'll give you greater understanding. Because again, if you're not in that crowd, if you're not in that tax bracket, and you've only got a media which you do not control, manipulate, and run, then you'll potentially have the wrong perspective, right? So that being said, a couple things. I wanted to show you guys something else. Two more things. We going toward Diddy. We making it there. We chug-a-lugging along. I wanted to get Mr. Tom Mesereau. Tom Mesereau was Michael Jackson's lawyer, and let you hear what he had to say, because a lot of times the lawyers were right there. So I want you guys to hear what Mr. Mesereau has to say. Mr. Mesereau also was on Bill Cosby's first trial. He was Bill Cosby's first lawyer, right? But then he was removed. But he has a lot to say. But yeah, I want you guys to hear what Mr. Mesereau says about P. Diddy. And I'm reading you guys' comments. Keith said, so it's, let's see, miss you too. Assalamu alaikum. Why does the baby old part make me laugh? So silly. Yeah, the baby old part is silly, and it's beside the point. And it's funny, you're right. Guy, it's super silly and super funny. God no, let me see. Yeah, 50 Cent smart. He is smart and fearless. Big Worm, peace to the room. Happy Monday. K2 and J. Yes, yes, right, right. Pimp Ken has a book also. He does have a book. He absolutely has a book. And it's a good book. It's very insightful. Gives out a lot of knowledge, and it's not about it's not about what people would think it is. People would think it's about controlling women and human sex trafficking, whatever they contrive now for to get pimps in trouble. But again, not saying that I condone or agree with the lifestyle of pimping, but but I understand uh, that that pimping Ken is a smart fellow past just that topic. He's really a genius in human relations to me. That's his true significance, right? Even a broke clock can be uh, right twice a day, and so yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's look at Mr. Mesereau and what he had to say about Mr. Jackson and why he went through what he went through. Again, hopefully you guys are having a great day, man. Hopefully y'all had a productive day. Jimi Hendrix died in 1970, and the Hendrix family was only able to get back control of his catalog in the mid-90s. Paperwork don't be in order. Miss S. Nisa, they paperwork. That's Steffi. What's going on, Steffi? They paperwork don't be in order. And then it'd be a battle. It's a battle. And again, if you don't have the means, your ass is done. You finished. I'm pulling this up. I am pulling this up. It's something I want you guys to see. Something pretty good. Something really, really good. Dance rehearsal. Yes, 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 yes. Is this it? No, it's getting close. Look at this. Look at this. Like I said, Murphy's Law, y'all. Y'all bear with me. And I'm coming right. It's coming right up. It's coming right on up. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Da, 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 da. Well, here we go. Here we go. All right. All right. All right. Like Danny Marie be saying, "Brr, brr, 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 brr." I thought this was pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Do. All right, here we go. This is Mr. Tom Mesereau speaking about blaming the U2 for the new accusation, the Me Too movement. But listen to what he has to say. Again, all relative to Diddy.
Michael Jackson had an affinity for children. He never had a childhood. He wanted to be good to children because he had the financial resources to do it. He built an amusement park. He built a zoo. He invited inner city children. He invited disabled children. He did so many good things. And to try and turn that around into making him a horrendous criminal was really tragic. And I think it had a lot to do with shortening his life.
You don't think Michael Jackson has molested one single person?
I do not. I absolutely do not. And I sat with him for 5 months, 5 days a week in a criminal courtroom, watching not just the Arvizo allegations, but other allegations being made against him. Allegations that he had molested Macaulay Culkin, allegations that he had molested a whole bunch of other people. That experience seared into my soul a very strong belief that Michael Jackson never molested anyone.
Is there a possible explanation in the Me Too movement where people will now feel more comfortable saying publicly, look, I was abused? Can we now please do something about it?
I think the freedom of the Me Too movement has allowed false accusations to be made as well as real accusations. The Me Too movement in America is a very passionate, very powerful movement. And I believe a lot of good will eventually come out of it. I believe a lot of women have been mistreated. A lot of people have been mistreated. And I think to air all this in a public way will eventually find some balance and some good results. The problem with a movement this powerful is that people have due process rights. People who are accused of misconduct have a right to defend themselves.
Do you think if he was still alive, do you think these people would now be coming out and saying the same thing, that he molested me?
I just don't know. I mean, I think I have to believe these are
People have due process rights. I love that. In other words, these are allegations. The Me Too movement is so passionate and emotional that as soon as a person is accused or an allegation is made, they're already guilty. But again, be careful, because now you can begin to oppress. You can begin to turn into what you claim happened to you. I love that he said that.
financially motivated accusations. I have to believe that, because how else can you explain it?
How many boys, how many families has he or the Jackson estate paid off over the years?
I'm not aware of their paying anybody off other than a couple of settlements where he was advised by lawyers and business associates to pay money to end the story. And he regretted doing it. He told me many times I should never have settled with a couple of people I settled with, because all it did was open up Pandora's box and create all sorts of problems for him.
He paid Jordan Chandler, the Chandler family, $20 million.
Well,
to make it go away.
Again, according to Michael, he had lawyers and business advisors who were telling him, pay the money. It's a drop in the bucket with what you can make around the world. You have an incredible career. There's a lot more time to produce beautiful music and make a lot of money. This is nothing. Get rid of it. Stop the publicity. Do it now.
But do you pay someone $20 million if you think you're entirely innocent?
If $20 million is a drop in the bucket and you're going to make billions instead, maybe you'd consider it.
Pause. This is interesting, right? Because a lot of people talk about this. Why pay the money if you're not guilty? Listen, the money being paid is not an admission of guilt. When you are a brand as big as a Puffy, as big as a Bill Cosby, as big as a Michael Jackson, you understand. Listen, every day that this goes on, every day that I get this negative press, every day, this affects my livelihood. This affects my brand internationally. I don't want this to go on. I don't want to continue to look at this, especially knowing the minds of the people without having any evidence, without having any knowledge, without having any fact. They're believing it. A lot of people are believing it. So hell yeah, pay this person off. And then I'll say that till after. I'll let Mr. Mesero finish.
So again, to keep them quiet.
2 settlements to keep people quiet and to let his business career and musical career go forward.
But you're convinced that doesn't say guilty?
No, absolutely not. Not when you put yourself in Michael Jackson's shoes. When you see the kind of money this man could make, when you see the following he had around the world, when you realize what business potential existed with Michael Jackson products, with Michael Jackson music, with Michael Jackson tours, these amounts of money were nothing compared to what he could make. And he was advised by some pretty shrewd people, pay off these people. You've got bigger fish to fry. You've got bigger things to do, okay? And by the way, in all those settlements, there was no admission of liability. The people he gave money to agreed to sign a settlement agreement in which he did not admit any wrongdoing whatsoever. Now, what does that tell you about them?
Well, some might say that just paying the money is an admission of liability.
Well, it's not. It's not.
Man, I just wanted to show that again, showing how these things unfold, man. With Michael Jackson, there being an economic component in there, right? Also, people relying on hearsay, right? People believe in lies. right? That's crazy. That's super crazy. That's really, really crazy. Now, Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby. It was interesting what happened with Bill Cosby because, again, when I walked in that room in 2016 or the living room and saw Bill Cosby on the screen, I was totally, I was like, wow, I was taken aback. I could not believe what I was seeing because the great Bill Cosby going down and the way he was going down and for what he was going down. People pointed to, I don't know if y'all remember, he was on Larry King Live interview and he said, Larry, there was a Spanish fly, another name for the Quaaludes, right? And you put a little drop of it in a girl's drink and oh boy, it knocks her out. And people took that as an admission of guilt, right? But when you look at the story, right, Bill Cosby, the way they got Bill Cosby to talk, they said, hey, listen, Mr. Cosby, if you now come and speak, these charges will never be used against you. They cannot be used against you, right? Ronstadt, it was only one, or Constad, I think was her name. She was the one that they opened it up for, and they prosecuted him, right? And so they absolutely violate this man. They violated this man's Fifth Amendment. And he never did admit to being guilty or to giving women Quaaludes without them knowing, right? It was all consensual. It was all consensual. And so that led to Bill Cosby. That led to him being released. But there again, remember the backlash that he faced. Remember that. Remember all of the the negative press that he got. And I'm sorry, I'm the negative press that he got. Right. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick, and then we're gonna get into the good stuff. All that press, and then hell, 36 months in the pen. That's not cool. That's not cool at all for an innocent man. And I remember when O.J. Simpson, the late great O.J. Simpson, was living, and they told O.J. or they asked O.J. about Bill. In prison, part of your you listen, you don't have to check the depositions, Steffi. Check the depositions and check what they say, right? Again, it's not what you believe, it's what you know, because a belief, a theory, all of those things, they're just they're emotions, right? I don't believe that I'm not gonna make the NBA, right? Hey, it's your right. It's everybody's right to believe what they want, to believe as they please. But when you start now going into reason and rationale and logic, you have to be able to show something, or show and prove, right? Be a scientist of sorts. But yeah, a lot of things. Look, I forgot where I was going. I'm getting old, but I do have this for you guys to listen to. This is the prosecutor. He's going to talk about what happened with Bill, right? And why Bill was let out.
We have made several references so far to the deal that Cosby thought he had with the former Montgomery County District Attorney, Bruce Castor. In fact, that lay at the heart of today's Supreme Court ruling to vacate the conviction. Live at the county courthouse in Norristown tonight is Action News reporter Bob Brooks. Bob, tell us more about the deal that Bruce Castor made with Bill Cosby.
Well, Jim, it was a promise from Castor to Cosby that he wouldn't be prosecuted, but it was in order to get that deposition to help Andrea Constand. Tonight, former Montgomery County DA Bruce Castor explained why he decided not to prosecute Bill Cosby.
There was not enough evidence to arrest and convict him.
And why he made a promise to Cosby that would never happen.
The choices became do nothing or do something. I chose to do something.
Castor says it was in that promise Cosby would be forced to participate in a deposition where he would be stripped of his ability to plead the fifth and provide Andrea Constand's attorneys with ammo for a successful civil suit. It's noted in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's opinion that Cosby even confessed that in the past he had provided Quaaludes, not Benadryl, to other women whom he wanted to have sexual intercourse. Castor says it was a chess game that worked exactly how he wanted.
If the civil lawyers played the pieces right, they would get Cosby deposed. He would say things that were incriminating, and they would then use that to leverage a settlement worth millions of dollars. Well, that's exactly what happened.
But he also says it was made very clear to any future Montgomery County District Attorney the statements made by Cosby in his deposition could never be used as evidence in a criminal case.
The Supreme Court cited my memo, my private memo to them saying, don't do this because you're going to have a problem with using the deposition testimony because that only existed because I had said I wasn't going to prosecute Cosby.
In response, current Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele, who prosecuted Cosby, released a statement today. Part of it reads, he was found guilty by a jury and now goes free on a procedural issue that is irrelevant to the facts of the crime. I want to commend Cosby's victim, Andrea Constand, for her bravery in coming forward. Now, Jim, moving forward, Castor says it's quite possible Bill Cosby might sue Montgomery County. For how this has all been handled. From our reporting live in Norristown, Bob Brooks, Channel 6, Action News. Jim.
He should have sued their ass. He should have sued them. That was a total miscarriage of justice. But there again, Bill Cosby was trying to make several power moves, right? Buying NBC. This is alleged. This could be true. It could not be true. Dr. Umar mentioned there was some oil under Cosby's property that they wanted to buy. And Mr. Cosby said, no, sir. Oh, no, sir. I won't be selling. Sorry. Not today. And there again, they start with these procedures that now begin to drain. They absolutely assassinate character. They absolutely make you a social and or entertainment pariah. But ultimately, all your wealth, all your resources, all your money is now ciphered and sucked in to these lengthy, unnecessary, unwarranted legal proceedings. Right? So, yeah, we see that. Now, y'all probably like, man, get the Diddy. Get the Diddy. Let's see. Moon checking. I see you, Moon. Capo Rico. I see you. I don't believe that it was consensual. All right. So emotions have no place when it comes to justice at all. Intuitions have no place. That's two different things. Justice and an intuition. When you're now gauging, when you're trying to find justice, no, emotions have no place. They don't. When you go to the courtroom, you'll see that statue with the lady, right? And she has the what do you call it? The weight. That represents justice. And justice is blind. Right? Because they understand if justice were to see things, then it could interpret and it would feed into biases. It's a reason why they do that. What do you call it? Jury selection, right? There's a reason why jury selection is done the way it's done, because they know that human beings have inherent biases and emotions. Going to O.J. Simpson, his trial, they messed up when they put all of those black women on that verdict for O.J. They thought, Marsha Clark thought, that black people would be upset and resentful at OJ because he said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Right? And we were. However, we were more resentful at the treatment that we were receiving at that time. And that played into it. I mean, minus that they said they didn't prove their case. They just got out lawyered. You know, Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, Lee Bailey, Carl Lewis, all of those guys, right? They just outlawed the hell out of Chris Darden and all of them. But there again, they're mindful. She chose him because she thought that the bias, Kai, was going to be against OJ. And that's not how you get justice. That's not how you get justice. Of course, people are going to be emotional. Of course, we're humans. But to come to justice, to come to blind, unbiased justice, you got to let the emotions go. You got to let the trauma go. You got to let the triggers go. Otherwise, you're gonna judge from there, from your trauma, from your trigger, and that's not how justice works. Logic only isn't logic only isn't always guaranteed to get the job done. Well, hey, it's it is I understand that. I understand that, but that emotion, whenever you deal with your emotion, right, good or bad, uh you can lose control. You're more prone to lose control. You have to you have to be logical and rational, right? You have to have some that helps you with that emotional control. When logic is high, emotion is low. When uh, uh when logic is high, emotion is low. When emotion is high, logic is low. Right? Understood. Of course, only deal with facts. That's right. To have intuition or other emotional consideration, that depends on the brilliance of your attorney. Agreed. Big wise. That's one major reason we go to prison more regularly. We have to depend on an appointed attorney and appoint a court appointed attorney who are inexperienced. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. They know you don't have the money and they banking on you to be emotional as a person, right? A brother once told me the jails are full of people who are emotional, right? Who have letting their emotions get the best of them. But on to Mr. Combs. This is what you got. This is the main event. This is what y'all came for. Y'all like, all right, we done went through everything with all Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby. What you got on Diddy, Faheem? We came here to see Diddy, and this better be good too. uh it is. It is. Like I said, I like to listen to what the law says because they're not emotional. And justice is blind, and we cannot deal with emotions. And they also have a legal expertise that I don't have. Right, I've never been to law school. I can only listen and guesstimate what different things mean. There's a such thing as a Black's Law Dictionary, where the same words that you use have different meanings, and they're used in the court of law. A lot of the Moors deal with the Black's Law Dictionary, right? And so yeah, and I'm pulling up. Look at this. Look at this. I'm pulling up Diddy's what the lawyers are saying, what they're saying about what he's gone through. Yep, what he's gone through. I appreciate y'all being here. Make sure y'all share out the chat. Make sure y'all share it with somebody you love. Share it with somebody you despise. Share it with someone. Let me see. I wanted you guys to see what the lawyers were saying, what they had to say about Mr. Combs, right? What their comments are and were. Here we go. Here we go. Now again, what we've been hearing, what we've seen is people talking about the Cassie incident. That's what's been thrown around, which denotes domestic violence, right? We've heard about the sex trafficking, right? And I think people are really misconstrued what that is, what that really means, right? I think it gets to be synonymous with human trafficking, which again is synonymous with pimping. That's the law that they use to get pimps, right? But again, let's listen to this lawyer and what she says about Mr. Combs. Let's listen to what she says about Mr. Combs. This is a defense lawyer. And we're going to hear from Puffy's lawyer as well and what he says. This is a CNN interview. Check this out.
Back with some breaking news. A federal detention hearing for Sean Diddy Combs has just ended, and CNN's Kara Scannell is outside the courthouse in New York. Kara, obviously, this is a huge case. What just happened?
Yeah, Jake. So the magistrate judge overseeing this hearing today has remanded Sean Diddy Combs into custody after he was charged with that sex trafficking case. He was let out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals, and he will be held in federal detention as this case moves forward. Now, this followed a lengthy hearing with both prosecutors and Diddy's attorneys, arguing reasons why he should be kept behind bars and why he should be released. Diddy's lawyers saying that he has taken voluntary steps, including turning over his passport to his lawyers, saying he would report any of his movements to prosecutors, but the judge finding that that was just not enough. She said, my concern is that this is a crime that happened behind closed doors, even when pretrial services is monitored.
Service.
So she said there was nothing that his lawyers had offered that made her feel comfortable that he would return to this courthouse for subsequent court hearings and for a trial. She said that it was both his substance abuse and the fact that
Service getting nervous, y'all.
some of this physical abuse that's been alleged occurred when he was using drugs and alcohol, that was a reason why she couldn't trust that he would not commit any additional crimes while he was left on bail. So Sean Diddy Combs is not going to be walking out this door. He is in federal custody where he will be unless his lawyers are able to convince a different judge to release him.
Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Stacey Schneider. And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise. And they said that this enterprise consisted of him as the alleged leader, his employees, assistants, staff, allegedly, that were able to procure women and alleged male sex workers to engage in performances for his own sexual gratification. Where it differs from a mob indictment, it has all the elements of putting together this racketeering allegation of all these moving pieces using resources from his businesses. But the fact that this is about an allegation of sexual gratification being accomplished by alleged human trafficking, it's one of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes, because the government isn't actually prosecuting the sex crimes other than the human trafficking or the sex trafficking. They're not prosecuting any type of alleged sexual abuse to women, although that's part of this racketeering scheme. But the actual charges are racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting individuals over state lines to engage in prostitution. The reasoning around all of this, his alleged motivation as presented in that indictment by the government is for his own personal gratification. And that's just the strangest type of indictment I've ever seen. But
let me help you with that. Again, like Pimpin' Ken said, he wasn't pimping. That would have made him a human or a sex trafficker. He was tricking. He was spending money on them women. So they're saying, wow, they're putting these charges on him for being a high-end trick, for personal gratification. He's enjoying the services of these women, and they're charging him for sex trafficking. That's insane. That's what the lawyer's saying. And y'all heard her say, excuse me, they're not prosecuting him on any of that stuff, on harming women or abusing women. None of that stuff. It's out of the scope or out of the typical way that they charge. So basically, why are they going after this man for just having these women here and enjoying their services? Obviously, that's outside of the scope of what the government normally prosecutes with sex trafficking for. That don't make no sense. But they plastered all over the media that this man has harmed women. They showed you, they shoved that Cassie video in your face and said, hey, see, he beats women typically, right? So that you would believe, hey, He did that so he could do this. But here, when the government, when they indict him, they don't even enter that into the charges. That's what a lawyer, that's what the law is telling us.
I agree with you. This indictment reads, it's very disturbing. The facts presented are out of, a very bad Hollywood story. And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these sexual performances that have been named freak-offs. And there seems to be a ton of evidence allegedly tying this scheme together. So it's an interesting way of prosecuting it, but I understand why they did it that way.
So what did you make of what Elizabeth Wagmeister just reported? And obviously, Sean Diddy Combs and his attorneys they're gonna get their day in court. But the idea that the government, in their characterization, does not say that anybody did any of these things non-consensually. What do you make of that?
I make of that as being a big flaw already in the government's case, which the defense was quick to point out. Even if he was engaging in this alleged conduct, there was no allegation or no statement in that indictment saying that any of these alleged victims or alleged witnesses willingly participated in some of these acts that people find offensive, that sound to be offensive. And that's a very important part of the case. What was the consent? But there are enough charges here where outside of what the alleged victims are going to say about how he was using the resources allegedly from his enterprises, his businesses, his well-known Bad Boy Entertainment, his clothing line resources, his liquor line resources. Allegedly, there were funds used from the resources to engage in this alleged prostitution activity across state lines. And that's why it's a federal case, because it's across straight lines. So there are some problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like just from reading this 14-page indictment that there is enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case. We shall see. These are allegations.
So the Office of the Southern District of New York seems awfully confident about their ability to handle the scope and complexity of the case. But still, why do you think it took them so long for them to go after Combs, considering they allege his crimes have been going on for more than a decade?
My theory is that the government had an easy time putting together this final prosecution because of all the civil actions existing against Sean Combs right now. The case with Cassie, which that video was shown, his former girlfriend, where he was seen assaulting her. It looked like certainly that he was assaulting her on video. I think the government and investigators were able to accumulate all this easy evidence that was just handed to them from the attorneys who prepared the civil cases that are now pending against him. I think things just started piling up, and eventually Sean Combs got to a place where his luck ran out, and therefore he was indicted and arraigned.
None of it was proven to be non-consensual, right? They have a flaw in how they're trying to charge him. Again, they're trying to move the goalpost. That's what the lawyer says, and she absolutely says it sounds like they have. She put it out there. It sounds like they have a lot of physical evidence to get him right. They have the baby oil. They have that video. They have these things. But they're coming after this black man, and they're absolutely vilifying Mr. Combs. I want you guys to hear. I want you guys to hear what Diddy's lawyer had to say about what's going on, and a little bit of the facts. Right? He talks about what happened with Cassie. He talks about a little bit of what Mr. Combs did. And what his strategy was. I thought this was super interesting to me. This was very interesting because it explained a lot. And I see you, Steffi. I see you there. Sometimes the service gets nervous, you guys. Sometimes the service gets nervous and have to wait for a little second. Wait. But it's coming up. I appreciate the 7 of you guys, 10, however many people have come in, for rocking out, for staying and remaining vigilant, remaining patient. I can dig that. I appreciate it. So let me see. This is coming up. It's time for me to get a new computer, y'all.
Tomorrow we argue in front of the district court judge whose case this is. Today we argued in front of a magistrate judge whose case this is not. We'll never have this magistrate as our judge again. But tomorrow we argue in front of Judge Carter, and it's Judge Carter's case till the end. So hope springs eternal, but I think we have strong arguments, and I think we have a good chance.
Well, and what prosecutors are arguing is not only does your client pose a flight risk, because obviously he's incredibly wealthy, has access to planes and a lot of staff, even though you said he turned over his passport to you months ago. They were also worried about him being able to interfere with witnesses and calling them. And so I guess the question is, how do you assure the court that that won't happen if prosecutors are saying, this is someone who's attempted to bribe security staff and has already threatened and interfered with witnesses?
So I think the most important thing, even more important than the passport, is that Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger, because who, as a danger and a flight risk, would fly to New York and surrender? So they didn't want him to surrender.
So since September 5th, you had known, you expected it was likely he was going to formally face charges.
So I really knew he was formally going to face charges on March 25th, the day of the searches. When Homeland Security searched his Los Angeles home, his Miami home, and his airplane, I knew that day by looking at the search warrants. I mean, I've been doing this for a while. This is not my first or 100th rodeo, that this was going to come as a matter of time. What I realized in early September is that it was coming soon. And so it was time for Mr. Combs to come to New York, which he did. And let me just point out one very important thing, that the prosecutors are seizing on something that happened 8 years ago. You know, this video that we've all seen, and it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship. That was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone is just nonsensical, and it's going to prove to not be true.
Well, on that video, he initially denied the allegations when his then girlfriend, who is in that video, filed a lawsuit last fall. And we have that video. I should note CNN was the first outlet to exclusively report on it. He denied that happened when she filed it in a complaint. And then when the video came out is when he apologized for it.
So I wasn't his lawyer back then. So I don't think he denied. I mean, I think the lawyers were the ones mostly making the denials. I think they were denying sex crimes. I mean, because at the end of the day, the gravamen of that civil complaint wasn't a misdemeanor assault, which is what you see on that video. Not minimizing it, but it's a misdemeanor assault. What the gravamen of the complaint was sex crimes, and he denied that, and he still does.
Well, and you're saying that this is all just about that one relationship, but when you read through the indictment, they say that there's not just one victim. They say there's multiple victims here today. And what I heard described was they said they have 50 witnesses or victims.
Yeah, I think it's 49 witnesses and one victim. I think if you broke it down, and I say that because count 2, which is the sex trafficking count, has victim number 1, and there is no victim number 2 anywhere in the indictment.
So you're saying that there are not other women, because what they were essentially arguing here is that he coerced and forced women into sex acts by using physical force, financial pressure, emotional abuse, and narcotics for what they described as these freak off sessions. They saying that he self-described them as that.
Yeah, there's one victim in the indictment. That the charging
But one
document.
victim does count, right?
No, of course, but I'm just not. It's not 50. I mean, what they did, and it's a little too cute, is it's 50 witnesses or victims. Well, it's one victim. That's all that's in the indictment.
Our reporter who was in the courtroom today said that he appeared to have a stunned expression on his face. Was he surprised that he was arrested last night?
No, he definitely was not. I mean, I told him myself in early September, you are going to be arrested soon, and you're going to be charged with racketeering, and you're going to be charged with sex trafficking. So come to New York. It wasn't a long conversation. He agreed. So we knew this was coming, and in fact, we offered that he would turn himself in.
So if there are these witnesses and victims, and as you're saying that you believe it's one victim and 49 witnesses who saw this behavior, that's pretty powerful, though, to have that many people who have, if they go to court and argue that they witnessed this behavior by your client.
Well,
what's your defense against that going to be?
So my defense is very well established. I interviewed myself, the different men who were being brought sort of into Mr. Combs and this person's intimate situation. I've flown around the country. I've interviewed a large number of them. There's not the slightest inkling, according to the interviews that I've done, of anything that's coercive, non-consensual. Nobody was too drunk. Nobody was too high. These were adults in a relation. This is a 10-year relationship. We can't forget that. This is a 10-year relationship, and it was adults and consensual, and everybody who was there wanted to be there. So I feel very confident in our position.
You said you interviewed the men, but what about?
We as Americans must stand together.
I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, he went on to talk about how what we witnessed with Cassie. He explained, right? He went on to explain how, I guess Cassie had hit Diddy in the face or the head and ran out with his clothes. She had his clothes, and that's when he came out, not to excuse or condone what we saw. But he said something interesting. He said that was a misdemeanor. As bad as it looked on camera, and it was bad, it was a misdemeanor. And remember, she was paid for that ass whooping. Not that it makes it okay, but that's a vital piece of information when you're putting out to the public. This is something that was already resolved. That's what he was saying. This was a 10-year relationship. This was something that resolved a while ago. That was. But again, why would the media now continue to plaster this in our faces? What are they trying to do here? Right? What's really going on? Now, I don't know if you guys watch Viral Hip Hop News. It's a show where they talk about current events the way I do. Two hip hop heads, and they have one of my favorites. He's a funny guy, Mr. Judge Joe Brown. I love Joe Brown. Don't judge him, Joe Brown. Joe Brown was a judge for years. You all probably remember Judge Joe Brown. He had that show a while back. I remember Martin said he used to be like, settle down. Joe has that draw. But they're talking to Judge Joe Brown, and the headline is Judge Joe Brown breaks down how the Diddy effect will destroy more powerful people. But I wanted you guys to hear this again, right? And I'm almost done with these videos. Listen to what they asked Judge Brown, and watch what he says.
Some of those exact points yesterday as well, as far as there's no underage. It didn't seem like in the indictment there were any underage involvement, which would obviously be deemed as guilty, and that would be crazy and things like that. What I want to ask you is, it seems as though federal authorities are using the tactic of crushing his character and making him guilty in the public before being guilty in the court of law. Is that a tactic that the feds typically use, and how beneficial is that? And do you think that's going on right now?
You can thank the current president of the United States for that. I just alluded to it. Eastland and Berg came up 40 years ago with changes in the federal criminal laws that allow that to happen. It's called these days lawfare. That's what they're talking about. Now, Diddy is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to put the trial on and they have to convict him. But what I'm looking at is an extra effort to totally discredit him. So if he is later in a position of being a whistleblower, his credibility will be completely destroyed and public opinion can be steered in a direction where basically anything he says can be ignored or discredited. I think that's why it's looking like it does. As I look at it and read the indictments, it's nothing that I haven't run into before, representing a lot of pimps, prostitutes, and dancers. And it's just pimping and procuring. That's what they're talking about. And in this case, the purpose was to set up some freak parties, freak shows, orgies, where performances were being professionally put on in various places in a mansion while the rest of the folk could get their freak on. That's what you're looking at here.
Right. Now there's another aspect of it as well where they are accusing him of forcefully, making men and women do sexual acts that they did not want to do. Okay.
They wouldn't even say that. That's just adding a bit in there to make it look worse. Essentially, there are just 3 counts to this indictment, but instead of 2 pages, it's 14 because they add a lot of little stuff in there to make it look horrible to the typical person that is likely to get this, which most aren't. They just hear the news media talk about it.
$72 a month.
That's it.
That's crazy.
How much are you paying for your auto insurance?
I would say like $150 a month.
You may be overpaying. There's this site.
Absolutely. Yeah, what the judge was saying, listen, this is absolutely a ploy by the media to squash Mr. Combs and to absolutely crush his image so that he has no allies. He can never enter into the entertainment business. And then when something comes up that might be just and can be proved that he's innocent or whatever he says now is discredited, right? So again, brothers and sisters, I wanted to show that, I think I'm gonna forego because I've been on here for a little bit. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna say this to you guys, right? Dr. Umar, I was gonna end it with Dr. Umar. He said something. He said, listen, black people, first of all, the court of public opinion. That's right. K2 and J. Who is that K2 and J? Who are you? Reveal yourself. Take your mask off because I don't know who you are. But Dr. Umar said something I thought was very, very profound. He said, black people they've shown themselves not to be reasonable and logical enough to understand what is going on. We're too emotional. We allow our emotions to guide us. So we can't see the play, right? We can't see how all of these black men have been dragged through the mud, dragged through the dirt. And it's the same play, right? Yep, that's what I figured. That's what I figured. We can't see how these people have been dragged through the dirt, man. Over and over again. Right? And we jump right in. Couple things I want to take away from all of this, right? Code of conduct. Ask yourself, why would you side with a government and a media that would kill your leaders, that would oppress your people on camera and still not give them justice? Rodney King, Latasha Harlins, right? Peace, Damon. I see you. Right? All of these people, George Floyd, we witnessed how the government dealt with these people. We witnessed the unjust treatment that they received at the hands of the government. We turn around and side with the very same people when one of ours is accused on a massive scale. Does that make sense? Isn't that crazy? That's insane. That's insane. At the very least, brothers and sisters, you should be able to show some freedom, justice, and equality and wait for all the facts to come out, right? As soon as these celebrities, as soon as these people are charged, people come out the woodwork. All of these bizarre ass accusations people are making, all these people who were around them. Why y'all didn't say nothing when it was happening? And again, why are these going to civil court and not criminal court? Have y'all asked yourself that? Because I don't know if I said it in this podcast, but the difference between the civil and the criminal is the preponderance, meaning it could possibly happen. It could have happened. And beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond the shadow of a doubt, meaning you need 90% proof to get a conviction. That's why all of these celebrities keep this money by their side, because they understand the nature of the laws allows for these weasels to come in and sue. But there again, Black people, I'm talking to you specifically, right? How is it that without any knowledge of what happens, without all of the facts, without having read that indictment, you have such a negative slant on your brother? What is that about? You know what it's about? Many of us are resentful. We're resentful to our brothers and sisters that are successful, right? We don't like that. Quietly. How dare they be successful? How dare they live out their dreams? Right? That's crazy. That is absolutely nuts. But there again, I could never side. I'm not siding with a government who would create a whole program, the COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program, who would create a whole program to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah, from stopping nationalist factions inside of the Black community to rise up now and empower Black people and Black enterprise. Nah, nope. And that's not to say that Puffy is innocent or guilty. Any of them. R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, any of them. Like I said, justice works like this. It's not for you or against you. You get what you deserve. Next, freedom, justice, and equality. You heard what the lawyer said. Or Pimpin' Ken. Due process. The lawyer said as well. There's a due process that has to take place. So now why would they try to kill? Why would they try to annihilate this man's character, right? Yeah, that is how it's supposed to work, right, Steffi? But it doesn't work, though. It doesn't work like that. They destroy these Black men. They destroy them in the public. And now we throw dirt right there. We hand the noose to the people in the public lynching, right? Due process. We have to let due process go. And that takes emotional IQ, that takes emotional intelligence, that takes emotional stability, and foregoing, not listening to all these bizarre weirdos. I'm not gonna name no names, but all these celebrity platforms, they got bodyguards, they got former members of former affiliates. All of these people now have something to say. Hey man, you should have said something when it was happening, bruh. You should have said something when it was happening. It's like a person that dug you back when you was in high school, right? We know people who liked us in high school, and then we see them years later and they'll say, hey, I liked you. Well, why you didn't speak up back then? It don't mean nothing to me now. You should have said something when we were in school together. Maybe something could have become of it. Maybe something could have become of it. You guys care so much, right? If you were so concerned about the victims, you would have stood up when it happened. Yeah, they give us something, Joe, and we destroy ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Charleston White said, I'm not doing this for black people. Black people, they don't help themselves. They don't help their community. They don't help the babies. They don't do none of that. In fact, they throw gasoline on the fire. I always listen to these conversations and I just shake my head, right? I shake my head because I'm like, damn, where are the facts? Has anybody read the indictment? Are people going through it? Are people listening to the lawyers? What does the legal defense say? Right? Or are we just going off of petty shit because we don't like a person or because we think that that person could do something like that? You never know. Everybody deserves grace, right? Everybody deserves mercy. Everybody. Another, it didn't pull up. I had a lot of clips for y'all. Shamika, I think, what was her name? Willie D interviewed a sister on his platform, Willie D Live. And this sister was a lawyer. They're in Houston. And she said, brothers get people get overcharged, you know, and what happens is that's how a lot of times I get people off. They might be guilty, but that doesn't mean that you don't go through the due process. You don't give them or you don't violate their rights. R. Kelly was overcharged, y'all, and she said that. He was overcharged. He was overcharged. A lot of you don't like that. He was though. And hey, this is my perspective. Some of them parents should have been in jail with his ass because they were giving up them little girls to R. Kelly. He wasn't chasing after them. Not all of them. Some of them women, some of them girls, first of all, some of them were women in the eyes of the law in whatever state, because the age of consent differs from state to state, right? Now somebody will get smart and say, well, he got a RICO as well because they put him under the same laws, right? They said, well, he was sleeping with these girls and they were flying to see him. That was a part of his. That was a part of what they got him for. But you heard Pimmick ain't nothing organized about R. Kelly or P. Diddy. When you read the indictment, y'all, it says the Combs crime enterprise, right? They're trying to make Bad Boys, Ciroc, all of these different business ventures that he has. They're trying to say that was one big crime syndicate. Get out of here, dude. Get out of here. Get out of here. Also, he sued Diego. And the reason that he sued Diego was because he said that they were being racist in how they were marketing his alcohol. He wanted his alcohol marketed to all people. He said they were only focusing on the urban, which cut his money down. That's when he sued them. That's what 50 was talking about. That's why he said, you heard 50 in the beginning said that absolutely can expedite that civil to criminal, right? When that happened, you see all of these things begin to now unfold. You see Puffy begin to have all of these you see him start to have all these problems. Yeah, it's accountability on the parents, Steffi. These parents need to be held accountable. Absolutely. That's it, Joe. That's it. They wanted to freeze all his assets, but Puffy was smart though. He started selling. I'm gonna play one more thing for y'all, right? I'm gonna play just one more thing, and then I'm gonna let y'all be with y'all's people, right? I'm gonna let y'all be with the fam. I'm gonna play one more thing. I want y'all to see something. This was sent to me by Danny, one of my homegirls. She sent this to me, and I want to share this with you guys. Bear with me.
That one lawyer, he goes on CNN and he has what I say to be a well-informed conversation with a journalist, and we're going to speak about it. Let's take a look at that.
What prosecutors are arguing is not only does your client pose a flight risk, because obviously he's incredibly wealthy, has access to planes and a lot of staff, even though you said he turned over his passport to you months ago, they were also worried about him being able to interfere with witnesses and calling them. And so I guess the question is, how do you assure the court that that won't happen if prosecutors are saying this is someone who's attempted to bribe security staff and has already threatened and interfered with witnesses?
So I think that the most important thing, even more important than the passport, is that Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is. But he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger.
I think he said something interesting there. He said they didn't want him to surrender. So then my mind started to wonder, why wouldn't they want Diddy to surrender? Usually a criminal, he's a billionaire, highly resourceful. He can make this hard for you guys. It's crazy because Diddy's wealth, which was once his greatest shield, is now becoming a target. So I agree with the lawyer. They didn't entertain that because they didn't want it to appear in court that he was cooperating and cooperative. But two, my mind wondered and said, yo, they want the assets. A couple of different things. Number one, wherever they raided in this case, in the event you take a deal, they're going to want to seize those properties. That's one. So anywhere that they went in and found something, or they said you did freak offs on, they're going to try to seize that. So what did Diddy do? He started to sell it. So before you seize it, I'm going to sell it. Now, selling it makes the government say what? We need to hurry up. Because if these things are sold, we have no way to track that money down or see exactly where that money went to. And it's a different process to try to seize that money versus just taking over these properties and that jet. So if you noticed over the last couple of months, Diddy want that property on the West Coast that they raided. I think he listed it for upwards of $50 million. Quiet as kept, he had also listed his jet. Now, while doing so, his lawyer is in constant communication, one-way communication with the government. And he's kind of updating them on what's going on. Hey, Mr. Combs has received a letter of intent to buy his jet. We've had 3 buyers. They didn't pan out. You know, all of these different plans to get rid of the jet. And while he thinks that's building trust with the government, I believe, this is me, and I'm no legal expert or lawyer, but I believe that just made the government press the gas, knowing that if he gets rid of all the properties and take a deal, we have nothing to seize.
That's what you were saying. That's what you were saying, Joe, about them assets. They want the assets. And he absolutely, he was shrewd. He was shrewd. They can't freeze assets that are not right. They can't freeze assets. Exactly. Right. That's right. That's right. So, and I also like that he pointed out that, and the lawyer talked about that too in the second one. He talked about how, you know, Mr. Combs, when he would advise him to come to New York and turn himself in, he was totally, he was in compliance, right? He was totally cooperative. But again, this doesn't look good to the government's case because they want, now you can't say he's a flight risk if he's come and he's conformed to what you guys are saying do. Again, this is not me admitting him being just. This is not even about Puffy, y'all. This is not about Puffy, you guys. There's a bigger picture. You heard Pimpin' Ken. It's bigger than Puffy. It's bigger than Puffy. It's bigger than Puffy. We're all in danger. I'm gonna say something, let y'all go. As long as shit like this can go on, we all in danger. I remember it was a movie called Posse. Look it up. One of the best movies. Came out in '93. Mario Van Peebles, Melvin Van Peebles, Tiny Lister, Tiny Zeus Lister, Debo, Tone Loc, Alec Baldwin, Reginald Vell Johnson, Nipsey Russell, excuse me, Billy Zane. Western movie about black cowboys. Jesse Lee's father's killed. He goes back to avenge his murder, but he goes back to the town that he's from, and he sees black people being oppressed, and he sees how the white lawmen are coming into the town, and they have now put someone in jail unjustly in the middle of the town, in the middle of everybody, right? And they're gonna take him and hang him, the KKK. And the town people are all together, and they're saying, Jesse Lee, we need to get him out of here. He has a vendetta against this between him and the sheriff. It's not between us, good people. We don't want to fight. And he walks in and he says what I'm saying to y'all. He said, let me ask you something. If Sheriff Bates can come in the middle of town and grab two outsiders and unjustly lock them up and kill them, what does that mean he can do to all of y'all? Listen, if the government can take our wealthiest, our most affluent, and our most resourceful and dismiss them, demonize them, and destroy them, what does that mean they can do to all of us? Because, listen, whatever you think about Puffy, it really don't matter. Who cares? It don't matter if you like him or not. I personally thought he was an asshole, but I absolutely think that he deserves justice, and we all do, and not necessarily just for his sake, but for all of us. We don't have Michael Jackson money. We don't have Bill Cosby money. We don't have R. Kelly money. Bill Cosby was made to do 36 months in jail, y'all. And he, you know, and it took the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania to get him out. And that man was innocent. So every time I hear brothers and sisters condemning without due process Puffy Combs, what you're really doing is you're trading your own people. You are aiding and abetting. You are participating in the oppression of your people. Justice is for everybody, y'all. That's my message to y'all tonight. It don't matter what you think, how emotional you get about Puffy. Don't never let your emotions supersede your logic. I tell my children that daily. Don't never let your emotions supersede your logic. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble. But hey, do a little research, right? I had more resources, but like I said, what can go wrong will go wrong. But nonetheless, we did well. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. It was up to 11, 12 people. Look, I'm going to leave this up. I would ask that you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Man, I appreciate you guys coming out. I really do. Everybody, shout out to Steffi. Shout out to my neighbor, Joe. Shout out to Damon. Shout out to, let's see who we got here. We got Kai. Shout out to Moon, or my man Capo. Shout out to Big Worm. Shout out to Keith. Shout out to my man, Skia the Great. Shout out to the big brother, Ghazi Muhammad. Man, shout out to all of y'all. Listen, always do the knowledge, always do the research, right? It's always good to do your due diligence with anything, because that'll help you make a more informed and more intelligent decision, and enhance that enlightenment and help you live life in 3D. I hope something that you saw here tonight touched you, and I hope that you learned a little something, right? So listen, I just want to say peace and love, y'all. And may we meet again in the light of understanding.